Wake up, people.
Mamma mia, that's some piece that spicy meatball, Jack.
I play too hard when I ought to go to sleep. They pick on me because I really got the beats. Some people give me the creeps. Every other week I need a new address. Landlord, 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 cleaning up the mess. Our whole deleted life is a wreck. We're desperate. Get used to it. We're desperate. Get used to it. We're desperate. Get used to it. It's kiss or kill.
Take 28. Mamma mia, that's a spicy meatball. Cut. The accent. Cut. Cut. Nicey, micey, ballsy, ballsy. Take 59. Then, action.
Sometimes you eat more than you should. And when it's spicy besides, Mamma Mia, do you need Alka-Seltzer? Alka-Seltzer can help unstuff you, relieve the acid indigestion, and help make you your old self again.
Mamma mia, that's a spicy meatball. Okay, let's break through it.
This is looking at inside. Look at this. These protesters are inside Statuary Hall right now. You see the statues. This is a moment I never saw in my life. These individuals just rushed through security. They are inside Statuary Hall. This is a legendary place where all of us who covered Capitol Hill, it's hard to believe what we're seeing right there. They're just walking through. Where are Capitol Police? It's an awful situation. They're having a good time in Statuary Hall. Jake Tapper, I don't know about you, but this is an incredibly dangerous situation that's unfolding here in the United States.
It's stunning, Wolf. It's absolutely stunning, and it's quite frankly dangerous. President Trump could stop this with one tweet, but instead he's on Twitter attacking Vice President Pence for refusing to go along with his attempt at a coup, at a bloodless coup. We hope it stays bloodless. And you have protesters accosting senators. You have people, members of Congress being evacuated because of bomb threats. You have protesters right outside the Senate chamber. It is a very potentially dangerous situation. I've been in Washington for decades now. I've never seen anything like this. And again, President Trump, if he wanted to, and there is really no reason to think he wants to, he could stop this. He could stop it with one tweet, and he will not because, frankly, he likes this.
By not discouraging what we are seeing, the president is encouraging what we are seeing. Just as he has in a much more over way, over and over and over again. With his tweets, completely irresponsible, and this is the result of that.
Apathy, the feeling of not having much emotion or interest. In fear, every day, every evening, he calls her aloud from above, carefully watched for a reason, painstaking devotion and love, surrendered to self-preservation from others who care for themselves, a blindness that touches perfection but hurts just like anything else. Isolation. Isolation. Isolation.
Unfortunately, as unusual and as terrifying and as surprising as what we are seeing is going on, in a lot of ways, it is one of the least surprising things. What is remarkable is that this kind of thing hasn't happened earlier, because that these protesters, who of course have the right to protest, but this is beyond that. As John said, this is basically taking over, storming the Capitol. It's anarchy. It really is anarchy. And the president has encouraged this time and time again, and they are stopping the constitutional, peaceful transfer of power.
I want to bring in Pamela Brown, who has some more breaking news about the security. Issues at the United States Capitol, which has now been stormed by hundreds of Trump supporters who have been fed the lie for months by the president and others that the election was fraudulent. It was not, but they are angry, they are upset, and now there is a very real risk of violence. Pamela?
Absolutely. I've spoken to several sources, Jake, who tell me that the situation is getting out of control, that it has turned insane, frankly, and that the other law enforcement has been asked to help by Capitol Police. They have been reaching out to federal authorities and local authorities, asking them to come help. I'm told by a local law enforcement source that the MPD Civil Disturbance Unit personnel, they have been deployed there to the Capitol building to help. Other federal authorities have been called to help. And another issue they're dealing with are there several suspicious packages around the building. I'm told that the Capitol Police are looking at. They are examining these suspicious packages. We know, we've already reported that we have heard flashbangs there. I'm also told from a source on the ground that pepper spray has been deployed and so forth. So there are multiple security situations going on as we are seeing this unfold there in real time, this remarkable, unprecedented situation at the Capitol building.
The death. The definition of sedition is to try to overturn the rule of law through force, and that is what we are witnessing. Trump supporters who have been lied to by Trump and his minions, individuals like Ted Cruz and Josh Hawley, lied to by MAGA media, have been incensed and outraged, and they are now resorting to physically trying to storm the Capitol to stop the constitutional process of
isolation. Isolation. Isolation.
electors being counted for the person who won the election, Joe Biden, the president-elect. That is what's going on. That is what we are witnessing, and there are a lot of people who are complicit in this. It will not succeed. Joe Biden will be sworn in on January 20th, but at some point, you have to ask yourself, if you're Josh Hawley or Ted Cruz or Matt Gaetz or either of the Murdochs, you have to ask yourself, what am I doing?
Wake up, people.
What am I creating here? What have I unleashed? This is the United States of America, and we're watching protesters try to undermine the course of an election.
Isolation. Isolation. Isolation.
A constitutional process through force by storming the United States Capitol.
Look at that. That is outside. Jake, I'm sorry to interrupt, but look at those pictures. Have you ever seen anything like that? I mean, these are protesters outside on the steps of the Capitol. They're physically in there.
Well, it's a fitting end to an era that has been characterized by lawlessness. That President Trump, the reason this is happening is because President Trump wanted Vice President Pence to act in a lawless way in his procedural duties today. And now his supporters, in their anger, are basically breaking into the Capitol, forcing members of Congress to go into hiding because they've been, as you said, Jake, fed lies.
I apologize for interrupting, Abby. I just want to say the mayor of Washington, D.C., Mayor Muriel Bowser, is now ordering a 6 p.m. curfew in Washington, D.C. because of these protests, which have turned violent.
Mother, I tried. Please believe me. I'm doing the best that I can. I'm ashamed of the things that I've been put through. I'm ashamed of the person I am.
Individuals who have been fed lies, as you noted, now storming the Capitol to try to stop the constitutional process. Please continue.
And
I'm
just
sorry.
to be clear, President Trump has tweeted in the last few minutes, but he has said nothing to disavow this,
No, he's
tone
throwing
down
fuel on the
the
fire.
violence. Exactly. In fact, he has been upping the rhetoric against Mike Pence, and that is it's beyond irresponsible. He has a responsibility. These are his supporters. They're carrying Trump flags. So he could say to them, stop, back away, don't do this, and he won't do it.
We are
Wake up, people.
watching an attempted sedition. We are watching an attempt at a bloodless coup in the United States. Trump supporters stopping the constitutional process, the counting of electors. The mayor has invoked a 6 p.m. curfew. More police reinforcements are coming to Capitol Hill. Let's go now to Brian Todd, who is on the scene. Brian, where are you? What are you seeing?
Isolation. Isolation. Isolation.
Jake, we're on the east side of the Capitol, the east front, the east steps, and you see that huge group of protesters on the steps. You can also see some Capitol Hill police on the balcony to the side. They don't appear to have the numbers to deal with this right now, but they're donning riot gear. We saw some smoke deployed earlier, not sure exactly how that started, but you can see there are some Capitol Hill police up there, probably awaiting orders on what to do, and we are told that there are reinforcements coming from different law enforcement up here, but they are not here yet, I can tell you that. There was a group of D.C. police, 20 or so, that showed up here a short time ago, went around the side of the building, and we believe went inside, but we're not sure. But clearly, as far as the police that we're seeing up there on that balcony, they are not moving. They're observing right now. They've donned some riot gear, and they have not moved yet to move these protesters up the steps.
But if you could just see the beauty, these things I could never describe. These pleasures, a wayward distraction. This is my one lucky prize.
Let's have Christine, our photojournalist, pan. Well, you got some cheers going up here. I was going to show you another set of steps. Let's see what's happening here. Not sure what started the cheering, but clearly it's, this has gotten out of hand. These protesters got up the steps. They breached the barricades, more than an hour ago. Got up the steps, some of them got inside. And we did see a large group of Metropolitan Washington police go inside the building, we believe. So they may be trying to deal with that from the inside first before they move out here. But they have not shown up in huge numbers at this plaza yet. We also know that on the west side of the Capitol, it's very, very tense with a lot of flashbangs going on. Protesters breached the barricades there. Some of them climbed up on these risers that were set up for the inauguration. And
A word from our sponsor. You are listening to Radio Tipping Point, and our show is called Wake Up, People.
we are just waiting to see when law enforcement shows up and in what kind of numbers, because right now I can tell you They don't have the numbers here to deal with this crowd.
All right, Alex Marquardt is also on the scene, and I'm getting texts, as I'm sure Dana and Abby are as well, from members of Congress, Trump supporters, Biden supporters, Democrats, Republicans, who are stunned. They have been told by Capitol Police they have to shelter in place in their office. Is it because of a terrorist attack on the United States? It's because Trump supporters are violently, in some cases, forcing themselves into the United States Capitol, stopping the constitutional proceedings of the counting of the electoral votes for Joe Biden, the president-elect.
Isolation. Isolation. Isolation.
What's up everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Retail Nightmares. Tonight on Retail Nightmares we take a look at the worst Black Friday moments of all time. Black Friday brings out the worst customers that I've ever seen, so let's jump right into it. Okay, so inside of this Tesco, a very busy crowd has gathered around while the employees take a pallet of TVs out to them. They then have to unpack the pallet of TVs so the customers can take them singularly, and that's when all hell ensues. As soon as the TVs are ready for taking, there is 100 customers who want the item, but there is a very limited amount of TVs to be had. This led to a big altercation over multiple customers trying to grab one TV, and it was even thrown around the ground and possibly even broken from all of the customers in an attempt to get it for themselves. Let's have a look.
Isolation. 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 With me, no more foreign holidays, less dining out, and fewer household appliances.
They are not playing about.
Okay, so it was almost Black Friday and a big line had formed outside of this Walmart anticipating opening. Just before the opening for the Black Friday sales, this gentleman had cut in front of the line because apparently he knew some people at the front. This was a big issue for pretty much everybody in the line, and just because you know somebody doesn't mean you should be able to cut in front of everyone else to go and stand with them. When this gentleman was called out for cutting in line, he got very aggressive towards everybody and said if they had a problem with that they should do something about it as he got in their faces. The crowd were anything but intimidated though, and they had obviously been waiting for a very long time, so tensions were already brewing between everybody in this situation, and this gentleman thought he was more entitled to be cutting in line because he only wanted to get one item, which is pretty much the case for everybody there. Let's have a look.
It's upsetting the line. Well, then get me back in the line. Come on.
So are the other 200 people.
We're here to grab items too. You're not the only one here to grab one item. And because you know somebody in line doesn't give you title, or you don't want everyone else right here all
unless you're gonna physically remove me, nothing's gonna happen.
Isolation. Isolation. Isolation.
So understand that I'm not getting out of this line. And you understand that none of you are gonna stop me from being in this line.
Stop snaking your eyes,
We're not
man.
stopping
Or what?
you. We're
Pay attention to one person and
Stare
stare
at
at them.
Pay attention to me. See me.
You are
See me.
threatening.
I'm not threatening. See me, mother. Hold this.
Not threatening us. Oh, again, very much here.
Why you gotta be physical, man?
Okay, so some shoppers were waiting outside for the store to open so that they could all run in together and get some good deals on some items. The thing is though, there was only a limited amount of items, and this lady ran over and knocked everything on the ground and couldn't actually get one for herself. This lady was so desperate to get a good deal on an item that she actually saw a kid had picked up one of the items she wanted and literally snatches it out of his hands for herself. Let's have a look. That's right, as you can see here, this customer literally snatches this item out of his mother's son's hands. Okay, so a very similar toilet paper crisis had happened at another shop, and basically a customer was very upset because apparently they got less toilet paper than another customer. The customer that got less than the others went to complain about the situation, and the worker at this supermarket lashed out at everybody, which created an all-out war. The employee and the customer started screaming at each other's throats and even going as far as to threaten each other too. They started abusing each other as well as threatening to call the authorities, as they were very upset about the situation, and the customer felt like it wasn't fair that he got less than the other customers. Let's have a look.
Get out! Get out of my car! Right now! Get out!
This will also mean fewer Christmas presents. Anyone who visited a Black Friday sale this year in Vienna or elsewhere would be quickly disabused of the notion that such a dramatic shift was on the cards.
Get out!
Answer my
Get out!
Answer my question. What's the big one for? What's the big one for? What's the big one for? Who do you think the big one for?
Just get out! Go back to parking, please. Leave now!
Don't be fair to everyone.
I am being fair by committing out randomly.
You've not been fair.
I am.
You're giving out the small ones. What happens to the big ones? Who are you giving the big ones to?
You know
Who?
what?
What? You are mad. I'm gonna smack your face.
You know what? I am a Get out! Get out!
Very lucky.
Get out!
Hey, you can-
Get out!
Are we having fun yet?
Okay, so in Australia there was a toilet paper shortage. Basically, nobody could get their hands on some toilet paper, and when it was finally restocked, everybody fought to get their hands on it. This created a huge outrage across Australia and some very crazy moments. As you can see in this first clip, these ladies got their hands on a few packets of toilet paper, but decided to get a little bit greedy when they went for more. They took the last roll of toilet paper away from somebody who didn't have any, and this really upset her. This lady tried to take a packet of toilet paper away from them, but this only led to a huge confrontation. This was one of the defining moments that led Australia to have a limit on how many rolls of toilet paper you can purchase, and this moment actually led to a huge fight ensuing, which I obviously can't show, so let's have a look.
Wake up, people!
Excuse me? Go away from my daughter. I just want one pack. No, not one pack. What's the limit? At the moment,
Alright, guys, I need everyone to back off right now.
Stop.
No. Hold on.
Get away from there.
Stop. You need to get off this trolley now. You need to get off this trolley now. Look what you're doing.
Isolation. Isolation. Isolation.
Adrian. Call the police. I'm calling the police.
Okay, so this lady was at a Toys R Us, and I believe she tried to reserve an item during a Black Friday sale, which you obviously can't do, as it's first come, first serve. The item was then sold out, and this lady decided to take her anger out on the employee when she gets in his face and starts threatening him. This lady starts abusing him for something that's completely out of his control. He literally just stocks the shelves and scans customers' items, and was left with no choice but to take all of this abuse from this Karen, who didn't get her way during a Black Friday sale at Toys R Us. Let's have a look.
Wake up, people.
He told me to come, go get it, and it hasn't been 25 minutes ago, and I'm here, and telling me how am I supposed to be calm? I pay somebody to use their car to come down here, and you gonna tell me to be calm? You can't tell people that kind of attitude. What kind of... Oh, please, Flowers, but why? What am I supposed to be doing that?
Okay, so this Karen couple actually went to the store and bought literally every roll of toilet paper, hand sanitizer, paper towels, and other things like that. There wasn't a policy at the time that would prevent people from buying literally everything, and as there was a higher demand for this stuff, this Karen couple took it upon themselves to price gouge literally everything by buying everything in the store, only to resell it for more money. This lady found out what they were doing and confronted them, but this Karen couple genuinely didn't care that they were being exposed for what they were doing. They were literally just trying to price gouge these needed items, which is actually illegal, and you can't do that in America. Let's have a look.
Hi. Yeah, look at this wonderful woman who just told me to go F myself and mind my own effing business, who just bought the entire store of paper towels, toilet paper, so that nobody else can have any. It's really lovely. And I wish I had gotten her earlier when she was telling me to go F myself and mind my own effing business. But now she's being all calm because she knows she's going to be on everywhere. Yeah. This is nice.
Make it viral.
Oh, it's going to go viral. Too bad I didn't get...
Thanks for watching, guys, and if you have enjoyed today's episode, please remember to subscribe to the channel and to turn notifications on.
Join us next week for Wake Up, People. Welcome to Radio Tipping Point. Our show is called Today. Wake up, people! And let's move on to part 2. Psychological safety. So, you have formed your team and you all feel empowered, or so you think. You go around the table and ask each individual member, just wanted to check, you feel empowered, right? And each one on your team nods her head in approval. And you leave that session with a warm, fuzzy feeling, thinking that everyone is doing great. What a mess. Psychological safety refers to a condition when each member of the team, regardless of what their tasks are, truly feel empowered to say those uncomfortable things that will send the meeting into disarray. Some people, by nature, will give you their opinion, regardless of whether their opinion was solicited. Others will never tell you their true feelings. It doesn't matter how often you ask. Let's go ahead and concentrate on the latter group. What is one to do? For starters, it's worthwhile to find out in which atmosphere each individual member feels comfortable. Maybe the conversation needs to take place outside of the group environment, like a restaurant or a cafe. Others might prefer to provide you with their feedback in writing. Don't laugh. I used to have an employee who would send me extremely frank emails, but he would never dare tell me such thoughts in person. Even if you are not in charge of the team, empowerment means you care enough about the success and make the effort to ensure that psychological safety is extended to everyone. A number of years ago, I was an attendee at a conference my employer at the time held. There were a number of interesting topics being discussed, and I have this uncanny habit of always having some sort of question. What can I say? I'm an inquisitive person. We had reached the end of the day, and our regional president was supposed to explain to us what we called back then our e-commerce strategy. Sounds quaint today, doesn't it? Well, he got up and started talking about a number of different things, but not about what we were there waiting for. Because I had opened my mouth the entire day, I thought I would keep my mouth shut for a change. After his speech, someone raised his hand and asked a question that sounded like, nag, nag, nag. And I thought I couldn't leave the last word to that guy. So I raised my hand and mentioned that we had heard a number of great presentations the whole day. But one thing was still not quite clear to me. Why were we here and what was our goal? You can probably guess that this regional president was not especially enthralled to get my question, and you could read it on his face. The conference was being held by our IT department, and so the regional president tried to redirect the question to the head of IT, who understood very well what I meant and lobbed the question back. There was a silence in the room, and then the regional president spit out some verbal gobbledygook just to get past the embarrassing moment, and there was silence again. It might have been for 30 seconds, but it seemed like it went on for hours. Thank goodness someone else asked some easy question to answer, and the excruciating ordeal was over. Or was it? As soon as we left the hall, and there had to have been about a good 250 people there, I was inundated with comments like, "Great question," and "You asked what everybody was thinking about." That moment ended up being a career changer for me. It was never part of my plan, and it could have been a complete disaster. What had the situation looked like if everyone had felt empowered? In reality, a number of people there did feel empowered. I saw it in the way that they did their work. They just didn't feel comfortable telling their employer he was wearing no clothes, especially telling him in front of 250 other people. Call me a risk taker. Psychological safety means you are able to allow the team members to show their empowerment in their own way. So take the time to find out what makes them tick.
This is looking at inside.
Plop, plop, fizz, fizz, oh, what a relief it is. Plop, plop, fizz, fizz, oh, what a relief it is.
And now, a page from our Sunday morning almanac. February 21st, 1931, 79 years ago today. The day the market for over-the-counter medications literally bubbled over. For that was the day Miles Laboratories introduced a new antacid product called Alka-Seltzer. A mix of aspirin, bicarbonate of soda, and citric acid that burst into bubbles when plopped into water. Alka-Seltzer was an immediate hit, becoming both a popular remedy and a pop culture icon.
For relief of upset stomach, Alka-Seltzer.
Beginning in 1951, Alka-Seltzer's TV spokespuppet, Speedy, sang and danced his way through countless commercials.
Mamma mia, that's some piece to cut.
To be followed in the 1970s by human actors in a number of ads, including one that may just be the most famous TV commercial of all.
I can't believe I ate that whole thing.
You ate it, Ralph.
I can't believe I ate that whole thing.
No, Ralph, I ate it.
I can't believe I ate that whole thing.
Take two Alka-Seltzer.
So memorable was the campaign that Alka-Seltzer reprised it in 2005 with a subtle nod to the original.
I can't believe I ate that whole thing.
Oh, where have I heard that before?
These days, Alka-Seltzer is made by Bayer, and it has mutated from the original tablets into a whole array of products.
Plop, plop, fizz, fizz.
Still, the basic idea survives. Open package, plop in tablets, watch the fizz.
Oh, what
Isolation.
a relief it is. What a
Isolation.
relief.
Learned helplessness. Have you caught yourself lately saying, "I can't do that," or "I don't know how to do that"? If so, then you are a victim of conditioning called learned helplessness.
This condition, and it's truly based on conditioning, basically means that you think that's the way it is and you can't do anything about it. Imagine a horse that is tied to a tiny chair and remains stationary. Is the horse truly bound by the small chair? Physically, clearly not. Could you imagine the horse being mentally paralyzed into thinking that it has no options? We as human beings have an unfortunate mastery of learned helplessness. The term was coined and defined by Martin Seligman from the University of Pennsylvania in the 1960s, and his experiments dealt with shock treatment on dogs, showing that the fear of another shock stopped them from attempting to overcome a situation they could clearly master otherwise. Is the aversion always derived from an electric shock? Perhaps we have created some deterrence that is far worse. Here are some examples of some that we still unfortunately believe today. Girls are poor in math and science. This statement is not based on any evidence, but is 100% fake news. Let's follow the destruction this fallacy brings. A young girl is born, and the conditioning countdown has begun. These are activities that girls do, so go to it. It's okay if you struggle with mathematics. You are not expected to do well anyway. The destruction has only begun. Now the girl has entered high school and is expected to focus on a specialty in some fashion. Well, math and science were eliminated at an early age, so no sense in looking in that direction. Let's say you are a young lady who wants to buck the trend. Then the message is she is good in math in spite of her being a girl. The stigma grows like a tumor. Let's stay with the feminine recalcitrant. She continues to university and plans to graduate in mathematics. Then the questions arise like, was she accepted because of an affirmative action? Just when you think we have hit the pinnacle of destruction, wait till this young lady enters the epitome of chauvinism, the workplace. Who has the strength to overcome all of these obstacles? Now, this example was a tad extreme, but let's go back to the example with the horse and the chair. Can you envision yourself being that horse? Not trusting yourself to master some activity, which in actuality is very easy to achieve. You can't see yourself properly accomplishing these tasks. And this is the problem. Unless you are able to allow yourself to relish in the success, you will not be able to overcome the conditioning. Does the same condition apply to groups in our society due to some form of learned helplessness? I will let you answer this question all on your own.
Wake up, people!
People say we got it made. Don't they know we're so afraid?
Isolation.
We're afraid to be alone. Everybody got to have a home.
Isolation.
Just a boy and a little girl trying to change the whole wide world.
Isolation.
The world is just a little town. Everybody's trying to put us down.
Isolation.
I don't expect you to understand. And you've caused so much pain. But then again, you're not to blame. You're just a human, a victim of the insane. We're afraid of everyone. Afraid of the sun.
Isolation.
The sun will never disappear, but the world may not have many years.
Isolation.
As we exit 2021, we hear of things we cannot stop.
Wake up, people. Wake up, people. I play too hard when I ought to go to sleep. They pick on me because I really got the beats. Some people give me the creeps. Every other week I need a new address. Landlord, landlord, landlord.
Cleaning up the mess.
Our whole deleted life is a
wreck.
We're desperate. Get used to it. We're desperate. Get used to it. We're desperate. Get used to it.
Apathy, the feeling of not having much emotion or interest. Anxiety, fear or nervousness about what might happen. would mean no more foreign holidays, less dining out, and fewer household appliances. It would also mean fewer Christmas presents. Could a truly great resignation ever emerge? It would probably require more radical cultural changes. Households would need to decide almost that their future consumption needs and the income needed to fulfill them were substantially lower.
Wake up, people!
And you have just experienced a live rendition of Radio Tipping Point. In case you did not quite get the message, our show is called
Wake up, people!
And now that we have escaped the clutches of the lockdown, let the shopping begin. That was a wrap. And we will be back next week with another glorious rendition of Radio Tipping Point. Have a wonderful week. We'll see you then.
Wake up, people.